I'm a hustler, baby.
It's time for Hustle Her Podcast. I'm your host, Deshae Keynes. Hustle Her is all about inspiring women through real life experiences that have helped to mold and develop not only me, but my guests into the entrepreneurs and leaders we are today. If you're an enterprising woman determined to succeed and looking for a bit of motivation, a bit of tough love, and some actionable takeaways to be the best you, girl, you are in the right place. Hey guys, and welcome back to Hustle Her Podcast. Thank you for spending some time with me here today. As always, we want to thank a big thank you to our season sponsors, Brown & Company and 59 Front. Make sure you guys head over to our website, hustleherpodcast.com. You can check out all the behind the scenes of the episode. You can also hit the blog, guys, and tell me what you think about this episode. Always interested in your perspectives or maybe some of the things that you want to know about that I didn't ask. So make sure you head over there and, engage with me on the website and on all of our other platforms. Today, I'm super excited about my next guest. Not only is she someone who I've pretty much known all my life, but also she's a really good friend of the family. She is an entrepreneur and an author, the amazing Miss Kim Roberts. Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I love this blazer color, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
It's very nice. It matches the hat. You'll get it at the end of the episode.
Awesome. I was a little between mine with colors or black, because they say black takes slimming. Takes that little tampons that you pick up on camera.
That's funny.
This was the go-to color.
Yeah, there you go. It's all right. We take podcasting seriously here with LDS Multimedia. So, I totally understand, quality is very good. And that's what we pride ourselves on. No, I'm joking. All right. So we're going to ask a few questions. First thing that comes to mind, let me know and we'll go from there. Cool? Sure. All right. If it's something you can't think of, no problem. We'll go to the next one. Okay. All right. I'm happiest when?
I am happiest when I can be in a quiet place. It's a lot of noise at work. We're fully engaged with clients as well as us as colleagues. At home, it's a lot of noise. My husband actually likes to have the TV blaring upstairs and downstairs. So when it's quiet, it's peaceful. I can just breathe. And also when I'm eating, I love food. I'm a real foodie. So I am very happy when I'm eating.
Okay. So what's your favorite dish to cook then?
I don't particularly have a favorite. My household's favorite is like spaghetti and meat sauce, macaroni and cheese, barbecue chicken, that sorts of things. I try and stay away from the seafood, so we'll buy that. I don't have that down yet, but we all love seafood.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't have a particular favorite.
All right. Walk me through what you do to keep your skin looking so great. Your skincare routine.
Interesting, Vaseline.
Really?
Yeah, I'm awful. I put whatever is in the shower gels. I did for a minute buy a product line from Nylan. I think it's Atera. Have you heard of her? Right. So no. She has an amazing line. I actually purchased her line for our kids spa.
Okay.
But I used her line for a bit, which was really, really nice. I ran out, and I'm not a real big cosmetic person, so I do need a reorder. But yeah, whatever I got my hands on.
Okay. All right. Who is your closest friend? Best friend?
My closest friend. Now that's a difficult one because I have a large friend group, right? I really do in different areas. As of now, I would say my daughter. She's 18 now. That's really my bestie. Tanika Adams and Nicole DeShields are known to be my closest friends for the longest time. But there are others that are near and dear to my heart as well.
Yes. Okay. All right. What does love feel like?
Love. Feeling appreciated, respected. I'm big on actions speak louder than words. So you can say it, but if you're not showing it in action, I'll question it. But yeah, pretty much being kind, it being reciprocal, goes both ways.
What's a hidden talent?
A hidden talent. Well, as of 2019, the hidden talent became a writing skill that I had no idea that I had. And Letitia Washington was instrumental in pulling that out of me. Nice. So outside of that, Yeah, pretty creative and innovative when it comes to business. I've been blessed in having several of these. Some succeeded, others didn't.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah,
That's entrepreneurship though, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Picking up and doing it again is the
Yeah,
best part
you have
though.
to be fearless.
Yes, exactly. Okay. What are you listening to right now?
Music wise,
Yes.
nothing. Maybe whatever might be on the radio.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I tend if I go walking, I've tried to pick up walking again. I never really last past 2 weeks. I don't know what it is, but I would throw on gospel. Spotify, one of my clients downloaded some gospel music. So DJ Caddick is one of my
I love him.
favorite gospel artists. So I blast him. Mary. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right. And who is your celebrity crush?
Easy one. If I didn't say this, my husband would raise his eyebrow. Morris Chestnut, hands down.
Okay. Yeah, Morris he's good looking.
Yeah, that's my guy. He's dark like my husband. Yeah, he's got a little sway.
I love it. Okay, and then finally, judgment will be had. But who is your cut match team?
I have to say Somerset.
Okay, what's wrong with that? That's a good answer.
I don't know because
that's
people get a little touchy with that.
They'll be strong, but that's the right.
It's like, what religion do you have? That was an argument.
No. This is the Somerset household, except for Lara.
Yeah.
Lara's not a Somerset fan. She has not seen the light, but that's okay.
Come on over, girl.
Right.
Convert.
There you go. It's all right. We won't go into that today, but maybe another time.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So tell me about young Kim. What did you want to be growing up?
Interesting question. And this has never changed. I always wanted to be a mortician.
Really?
I really did. And when I attended BI, we had that work release program going on. They couldn't place me. I don't know whether it was because of age or what, but I ended up being stuck in Butterfield Bank, filing. I hated it. I disliked it rather. I don't want to use the word hate, but it didn't pan out for me. Yeah.
So what about, I guess, mortician, what drew you to that?
I don't know. That's just what always came to mind. I don't know if I was fascinated when I went to funerals or wakes and just seeing how they really looked like they were just sleeping. I'm not a very fearful person, so I didn't think I had to concern myself with being afraid if I was in that environment. But I just always wanted to do that, and it just... Yeah.
Has that ever gone away? Would that be something you would still do if you had the opportunity now?
I think it went away. I think it definitely went away.
Yeah. So walk me through how you became an entrepreneur.
Well, I fell into that, ironically enough. After leaving 2 years of Fisher College, I came home. My hope was to transfer to Northeastern University. I had a few acquaintances that attended there. I became familiar with the campus. When I got home, I knew that was going to be difficult because my mom was a single mom and she was already working 2 jobs to pay for the 2 years. But when I returned home, my father, the late Clifford Burgess, he had 2 boutiques, one with his wife and another one that he had opened on his own. And he just handed me the keys. He was just like, here, if you want it, you can have it.
Wow.
And
an entrepreneur was born?
Entrepreneur was born, yeah. Wow. He took me to New York and we ran the streets of the retail district. The jobbers at the time introduced me to everyone and just taught me about the banking part and what it took. And then he technically disappeared.
Was he ready to go at that time?
Yeah, it was like do or die, sis.
Yeah, there you go. So what type of clothing did you sell in that store?
So we saw trendy clothing. I don't know if you remember, like merry-go-round back in the day. No, your parents will probably know merry-go-round, oak tree. You remember oak tree? No? Oh my gosh, I'm showing my age.
That's okay.
But we had all the trendy clothing. We were really, really busy. Cut match, Christmas. We had I did majority of the buy-in, but I did have a young man that accompanied me with that. So we had bought our booth, bought a twist. Yeah. So we were able to be very lucrative. There weren't many businesses around during that time. It wasn't a competitive. We certainly didn't have online shopping. Right. So we did extremely well in that era.
Nice. But your mom is also an entrepreneur as well, right?
She is. My mom became an entrepreneur late in life. She always worked at, it was at St. Brendan's at the time. She ran the housekeeping department. She was also an educator at the Bermuda College in the hospitality area. And she too just had a turn of events. She was like, I'm going to barbering school.
Wow.
Then she took up a law course, and yeah, that was it. But she hadn't always been an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you say your parents kind of shaped you into like the woman you are today? Like those foundational like traits and skills and values?
I believe my mom played more of a role because I was raised in a single parent home. My dad was not always around. When he was, I guess he did what he could. I can't really attribute any skills outside of the business skills. But my mom being a single parent, obviously they always want the best for you.
Yeah.
So they instill, sending you to Sunday school, just ensuring that you stay on track. She imparted as much wisdom as she possibly could, but I had a mind of my own. And I was also raised with an elderly couple, surrogate aunt and uncle. So they imparted a lot of wisdom and took great care of me. Had fantastic summers, those sorts of things.
Yeah. So I guess with the first business, with the clothing store, obviously your dad kind of gave you the keys to that. But how has that morphed into the entrepreneur that you are today in the different businesses?
I think I'm just innately an entrepreneur. I jump in with both feet. I listen to people in the industry. I tend not to overthink things. I really don't. If an idea pops in my head, I just go and do it. I'm like a do or die type of person.
Okay. And what are some of the businesses that you currently have? Because more than just one, no, right?
Right. It's currently two. So we have the salon, Calm Salon. I've had that for about 17 years. We do more of a rental chair, don't do commission. It's definitely an opportunity to allow young women to come in and hone in on their skills. I tend to share more of the business side because most persons want to open up their own business eventually. So I give them the do's and don'ts, and I just mentor them in that way. It's been amazing. And one or two have actually opened their own businesses, since which I then have the kids spa. Along with my husband and my daughter. The kids spa is actually the brainchild of my daughter. She was 8. That goes 11 years, October 26th. That's a lot of fun. We have a team of 6. They rotate. Sometimes I have the whole 6 on. We might have an external or internal party. And that also allows us to facilitate offering camps to young girls across the island, as well as etiquette camps in the past.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like your favorite part of the entrepreneurial process? Like, what do you love the most about it?
I love the most having the freedom to make my own time and my own decisions, first and foremost. I love the autonomy of being able to be creative. I'm very creative. So if I want to change something or move in another direction, it gives me the freedom to do that. And I also love that I can share my experiences with other people. I have people that call. I'm an open book. I don't hold anything back. You want to know something, I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Like, I think a lot of times when we become entrepreneurs, especially people think that we're trying to compete with them or things like that. People can be they call it gatekeepy, right? With information. I think helping people is also really important because there's so much. I mean, Lara and I speak about this all the time, like things you learn on the fly as an entrepreneur, especially the business side of it too, right? Or if something happens, how to deal with people. Encouraging people and giving them that knowledge is really important. Yeah. Because not everyone knows and not everyone has anyone they can go to.
Exactly.
To kind of ask those questions.
And it comes back. When you give, it comes back. I just see the multiplication in my life, the favor that's upon my life as a result of always been willing to help and to give.
So in 2019, and after reading your bio and learning a bit more about you, things I didn't know, in 2019 you decided to take a course. Tell me about the course and what made you kind of want to do that?
Yeah, so what happened was I was turning 50. And, life could get a little complacent, a little boring. So I said, anything that I see that I deem interesting, I'm just going to go take it. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to explore it. So I saw the 16 Weeks to Publishing pop up. I was familiar with the instructor. She, at one point, was my daughter's school counselor. So I trusted that she would be offering something interesting. And I registered it. I think it was about 8 of us in the class. Now, what happened, as you would know, I didn't read the fine print, which is why I couldn't find this location today. So I didn't read the fine print. And when I arrived, I learned the first session that the intention was to actually publish a novel. in 16 weeks. And of course, I was like, no, negative. I don't even know how to write. Like, this is absurd. And so everyone around the table obviously was aware.
They read the
besides
fine
me.
print. Yeah.
And yeah, so again, me being the person that just jumps in with both feet, I was pretty much the underdog in the class, right? I'm always the underdog. So I always root for underdogs. Always. It's just in me. But I end up being the only one in the class to publish within 16 weeks.
Wow.
Both novels can be found on Amazon. They did relatively well in bookstores here in Bermuda. One placing second on the top local sellers list in the Bermuda magazine at the time. I was pleasantly surprised when I received that call. And that's what happened. So obviously I didn't know what I was going to write about because, again, I didn't have that gift, but I had a story that I had lived.
Yes.
And it was very easy to pen.
Absolutely. So I guess in the first book, which is Shamefully Discreet, right? You speak about a lot of your life, essentially, your life journey, and you had some pivotal moments in your life that, you know, obviously with what the word pivotal means, essentially pointed you in different directions. Like, walk me through some of those things that happened in your life.
Okay. Well, the most pivotal moment was being incarcerated for a drug offense. That was a defining moment for me because technically, going back to your initial question, how was I raised? What was instilled in me? Those values certainly weren't instilled in me, which means it was a choice. I was very mischievous and inquisitive and daring and brave. So I found myself doing things that just piqued my curiosity. So as a result, I was sentenced to do time. And it was then that it truly came to light that, Kim, this is not who you were raised to be. You had no business being here. You are not a victim. You are a victimizer. And a defining moment for me was being locked in a cell with a young woman who was going through withdrawals, chronically sick. And I remember smashing my nose against the window because she was sick and no one had come to her aid. And I remember saying to myself, you did that. You were responsible for that.
Wow.
And you are never to be a part of that lifestyle again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's significant. Like,
Very.
And how do you get to the point where you accept that, like, I was the one who did that? You're not the victim in this situation. Like, how do you get to that point?
Well, I think I had to just recognize that I had to own my role in it. I had to own it. No one forced me. No one held a gun to my head. And as time progressed, I started to work on myself and make the necessary changes because I was this person to the public, but I was a different person behind closed doors. Not many people knew who that person is. I strongly believe that you only know a person by what they show you, right? It's no fault of the other persons if they get it wrong. That's what I want you to know. So I'm going to leave certain details about myself out. However, I had my son at the time. He was 15 when I was actually sentenced. So I had to recognize that, you know, you need to be better and do better. You have humiliated and embarrassed your mother. First and foremost, my stepfather at the time, both of them were raising my son. And I had a really, really great friend group. So, of course, they were embarrassed and just confused at who this person was. And I needed to just realign myself, you know.
So you said something that I'm actually quite interested is you said you only allow people to see one side of you. So in that aspect, you knew that what you were doing was wrong, but you didn't want the people around you to know about it. Why was that though?
Well, again, my friend group are well accomplished. You know, they're good people. Of course, for one, had I told them I was even contemplating that, I would like, no, I'll march you behind to the police station, including my mother. So I knew that they weren't people that I could have divulged that information to. They wouldn't have stood for it.
But in that moment, you know, when you were making this decision, what was going through your mind around it? Was it, you know, what was it? Was it a quick something to do right then and there? Or was it, you know, you just weren't thinking?
No, I was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking. I think in the instance of what the actual reason for being incarcerated, I was attached to someone else that needed a favor, right? Time was ticking for them. Why they came to me was because they knew that I knew persons in that world. So it was more of that. For me, it was never really about money. Money's no big thing to me. I can make that legally. It wasn't about prestige because I am a kind of behind the scenes type of person. It was just to help them. I just was like, okay, let me just put you in contact with these people and get this done for you so you can get out of here. It was more of that.
Got you. Okay. Because I don't think people always understand that side of it, right? Like the why in the moment of it. And that's why I kind of wanted to ask that. But so you're incarcerated now, right? And walk me through how that is. Like, what is it like being incarcerated?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's different for everyone. It depends on what mental space you're in. It depends, first and foremost, of whether you're even willing to accept responsibility. A lot of people are in denial. I didn't seek to cast the blame. My case was tied to a lot of people, even family, where for a long time I was like, you betrayed me, you betrayed me, you betrayed me. And I then began to shift my mindset and saying, well, guess what? If you didn't involve them to begin with, there would have been no reason to be betrayed. So you need to take full ownership of this. But for me, I wasn't there very long. When I compared to a lot of females that I did do time with, I was very fortunate. God has continued to have his hand of favor upon me because I certainly should have gotten a lot lengthier sentence. When I got there, I was placed in a kitchen relatively quickly, than most, almost 2-3 weeks. So that takes up a bulk of your time. You're up early, it's breakfast, you take a nap. So you're there all day. You get to have the freedom of what you want to eat. There were 30 plus women back at that time. Everyone relatively got along well. To be honest, and I shouldn't even be saying this, at one point I used to write to family and friends, and I used to put at the heading, I used to put Ferry Reach Resort or something like that, because we were going swimming, Ferry Reach. You know, the climate of women at that time, we're just there. I'm going to do my time. We're not going to make waves. So we received privileges as a result.
Got it.
You know, there were times where fights did happen on the odd occasion, but that never came my way. I just, steered clear of that sort of thing and had a really good supportive group from the officers as well as the young ladies that I did time with. Yeah.
And during that time, you said you took immediately, it didn't happen immediately, sorry, where you felt like you took the ownership for what happened, and your involvement in it, and, not necessarily feeling betrayed, but what you did. Like, when did that kind of happen? When did that kind of acknowledgement of, you know what, this is what I did wrong kind of happen? Was it while you were incarcerated, or did this happen post that?
I think it happened probably towards the end, because of course you go through that series of emotions. You're angry, you're hurt. You just can't even fathom how certain people would have betrayed you. So it was a process for me. It was a spiritual journey for me. It was a lot of reflecting and having conversations with people, whether it was a caseworker or officer or even another young woman serving time. You tend to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle, right? In order to rehabilitate and heal, you do have to take ownership of where you put yourself. And I think that's what helps you to evolve. And more importantly, if you have a supportive family. Yeah. So while they don't condone your behavior, they still love you unconditionally.
I think that's the key. That's the big part, right? Yes. Like knowing that, they don't condone it, but they're still here for me, for the supportive part of it. That had to have been really helpful during the time you were incarcerated.
Oh, yeah. That was huge. I mean, even if I remember my sentencing day, the courtroom was packed. Magistrates. I had a pastor that was the late Reverend Ronald Smith was always by my side. My parents were there. My really, really good friends, even some that had positions in like immigration or police. They were there because, again, they knew that camp. And they were still trying to figure out, who is this person and why is she here?
Right.
Right? So, they stood by me and I had a lot of respect. I probably had 1 or 2 people that distanced themselves from me. And it hurt. But I understood it. When we raise our children, we tend to say, don't hang around her. She's a bad influence on you. So I got it. But the support was overwhelming. I always had amazing support.
Yeah. That's a really good a really good thing to have, because sometimes people go into what you went through essentially and people kind of leave them, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And that can be very isolating on top of being isolated. You know what
Sure.
I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, that's got to be very difficult. So you serve your, your sentence and you finish. What happened post that?
So upon my release, I wasn't able to work at my business, which my parents and the manager had sustained for me during that period. That was a parole condition. So I had to seek employment. I remember having an interview at Kristen's. I was telling one of the managers today, I do his hair, you guys didn't even give me the job. And I was like, their loss. But that was the only interview I did. However, my aunt worked at Cedar Bridge Academy and Ernie Payette was the principal at the time, and they needed a receptionist. So my aunt was like, I know just the person. And yeah, I started 2 weeks after being released. And I was there for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was that time for you post that, being at Cedar Bridge?
Yeah, it was a little odd because, of course, you have the naysayers, and I understood it. You know, you had educators that were a bit concerned that a felon was in the building. I didn't have direct contact with the students, but I was able to converse with them and deal with them on some level. So I always had to ensure that I kept my nose clean. I mean, I used to remember being a little antsy about if money went missing. I'll be the first one that they accused, right? I used to tell my boss, listen, I'm not a thief. I do not steal. But, you know, I had those concerns. And then, of course, the buzz did go around. So you did have students that would come and say, Mrs. Steed, at the time, Miss Steed, I heard you was, and, you know, of course, I'm going to answer them. But as time evolved, everyone got to know me. Everyone was able to be put at ease. And yeah, I had a great time there.
Yeah, that's good. You know, obviously I know Cedar Bridge. I'm wow. But I guess you mentioned something just now that I kind of want to go back into a little bit around people's perception of you post, being incarcerated. How do you manage that? Because the minute someone hears that someone's being incarcerated, they automatically think the worst, I think, right? And very rarely do you think rehabilitation or a different, mindset. Like, we see these things, but very rarely do people have that train of thought. So how do you deal with that?
For me, I tend to let things just roll off my back. I'm really, really strong when it comes to these things that attack me. If it has to do with my children, my husband, or family, I am like, I'll scratch your eyeballs out. You know, I will cry, I'll be furious, but I have thick skin. And I think that once people made it their business to get to know me, that it was a thing of the past. So I think I was able to navigate through it relatively well. Sometimes it hurt because, you always had the naysayers say, oh, they don't really like you, or they think you're this. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do, but I need this job.
Yeah, definitely.
If not, I could go back.
Yeah.
Right. So I developed in receiving a number of positions being there. I worked my way through. I didn't stay on the reception desk very long. And I had a great experience.
That's good.
Yeah.
So when I initially asked you to be on the podcast, and you were like, can we just chat first? And you said, Deshay, I'm an open book. You said, my husband, my family, my children know my story. So I have no shame in what happened to me. Like, how did you get to that point? Like, especially with the family piece of it, right? Because when I don't know what it's like to have children, but from a child's perspective, you said you had your son at the time. Like, how do you get to a point where it's like you're an open book with your kids to where the point you're comfortable enough to share?
Interesting question. Yes. Well, with my husband, first and foremost, he knew about my past because we were set up on a blind date, and a friend of his knew about me. So of course he was just like, listen, you're the girl you're getting with. Is that? And then my husband wasn't moved. Obviously, we're 20 years married last month, right? So he knew what he was getting himself into. And the first date, I gave him step by step what happened and who I was. For my children, my son was, like I said, 15 at the time. So he didn't know. He didn't remember, and it was never really brought up around him until very late. As a result of my children being told and given the full story, that was as a result of me writing the book, because I had to have their permission in order to release it. Although it was published as realistic fiction, I had did interviews where I alluded to the fact that the content was real life, based on real life stories. So because I am the person that I am today, my children are like, oh, I don't care. And then sometimes they're like, who are you? You know, they will even joke if I'm like, listen, you shouldn't do that. Like that's not something you should do. Oh, you, the drug dealer. You know, that's the joking. And I'm like, come on, that's not fair. It's like 27, 30 years ago, right?
Yes.
But I get it.
Oh, gosh.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're resilient. We are very close as a family. I tell my children everything. I like to think that they do the same. I offer them a safe place. I always let them know that I need to know how to protect you. So I need to know who you really are. Knowing how I lived, I need to know who you are inside and outside of the house. So we're all very transparent.
And with your parents as well?
As far as
like, meaning like what I was saying in the beginning around being comfortable enough for your family to know who you are and then sharing it. Like with your mom, like did you get, because I know you said she probably felt shame with everything that happened.
Yeah.
So you got past that.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I had to go through are you stupid? Like, why did you do that? You know,
yeah.
I went through that, of course, because they had to release how they were feeling, but they maintained being very supportive.
Yeah.
And I can't say that we ever really talked about it in depth, not with my parents, but I guess the way that I showed up gave them security that I wasn't going in that direction anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But I guess it's a really full circle, right? Because now, you know, are you the deputy chair of the treatment offenders board now?
I am the chair.
Yes.
Currently the chair.
That's so amazing, right? Like you did something, you know, you did the time for it. And now, as I think 2021, you are now on the treatment offenders board. Like, what does that entail? And how does that feel knowing your past and then being in this position now?
Yeah, it's surreal because first and foremost, I didn't even know the treatment of offenders board existed.
Really? Okay.
Until I received a call to from one of the former ministers of national security. You might know who that is. And that conversation was like, oh, I want you to join this board. And at first I'm like, what board? Like what? I don't even understand. So once I received an understanding in depth from the former chair, she was like, I want you to join this board. I think you will be a great fit. It worked out because when we meet, I'm off. So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, let me try it off. I have the flexibility. And once I joined, I was like, wow, I kind of remember these days. Because what happened was the treatment of offenders board and parole were 2 in 1, and then they split.
Okay.
So I was familiar with the functioning of the parole board because I had been before them twice. So I got a clearer understanding of what their mandate was. And once I joined, I learned that they're an independent board, of course, made up of members from the community. Our mandate is to ensure that the young women and men are treated fairly and that their basic human rights are met. We also adjudicate. So we act as like a mini court for internal infractions. And that becomes a little sticky because the inmates are like, well, you're supposed to be here for us support, but yet you adjudicate. But that's what we're tasked with. We also have interviews if they have any concerns that they need our assistance with. They come in and interview with us, and we do our best to remedy that situation. And the last piece is that we conduct rota visits where we go inside the facility every month. So we'll do a tour of the facility to just make sure that the structure is suitable for their living conditions, as well as engage with any person that wishes to speak with us. So we do that. It's an interesting task. It can be very, very emotional because I'm sure you're aware it's a younger population now, and predominantly men, because as of today, there are only 3 women. And like I said earlier,
that are incarcerated.
There were 30 plus back in my day. And I'm like, wow, well, this is a massive improvement. But our males continue to be, a driving force of.
Wow. So when you're dealing with, people who are incarcerated, like how do you, or do you, set aside what you went through and or is that a factor in how you deal with them? I mean, I'm sure it is, but how is that?
Sure. It's a balance because I can identify to some degree. As I always say, the incarceration of a male is far different than of a female, in my opinion. However, sometimes you can, because of my experience, you can see through what they are conveying. And then there are other times I get it, particularly when it's cases where it's them against the officer. And we always feel like we have to toe the line and take the word of the officer. But I had firsthand experiences with officers that were treated me unfairly. And in some cases, it was mentally abusive. So I knew that it happened, and I draw off of that. Sometimes I have to take a step back and I say, that can happen because it happened to me.
Right.
Right. So I have to be careful because I want to be fair. I also like to always assure administration that it's not us against them, but our priority is the inmate. That's our first priority.
Yeah. And I think it's necessary. You know, they deserve advocacy regardless of, you know, the offense that they committed. And I know that can be very taboo in saying that, but you know, that inmates are still humans, right? And
Absolutely.
They have human rights, right?
Yes.
And I didn't realize what the Treatment of Offenders Board did until you just explained it. But it's good to know that, you know, it's someone looking out for, you know, inmates and making sure that they are being treated fairly.
Yes.
Because not everyone in jail are these, they had a offensive that were that egregious. You know what I mean? Like, so everyone deserves to be treated like a human though.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we want to see change no matter how heinous the crime. I wholeheartedly believe that people can change. They just need to be given the resources. They need to have the support. And when it comes down to that parole period, they need to be given the opportunity. And I get that entrepreneurs are a bit afraid or not very concerned, but they have families. A lot of these men have children that they want to be able to support. And it's important that we allow them to make their way. If they mess up, it's on them. Yeah. You know, but to not be given the opportunity actually robs them of their hope.
Yeah, absolutely. You need the hope, especially when you're in a situation like that where you are incarcerated. That hope is probably one of the few things that kind of get you through.
If
right?
not the only thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, you've lost the right to your freedom, right? To do anything. So I can only imagine being hopeless in that as well. You have nothing to lose at that point.
Yes.
So, and that can be detrimental for people that is also incarcerated with them, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you made a really good point, because sometimes they come up to us to interview and it becomes a venting session. And, you know, you have one or two members like, okay, you need to just cut that off. And I'm like, no, I would rather they vent and cry and kick and scream here opposed to going down into the unit and assaulting another person, to include an officer. Yeah. So no, we are going to stay here as long as it takes for them to get it off their chest, and hopefully we can reassure them that we can assist them.
Yeah. I think it's amazing, and I think it was a really good call for you to be a part of that board, because sometimes people are, and this doesn't take away from their knowledge around things, but having that firsthand experience and advocating is one thing, but advocating from a space of, I know what that person is going through, it's got to be a different form of advocacy, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so, and I believe that I am there for a reason, because again, I didn't seek it. After probably about 9 months, I was appointed deputy chair, and then several months after that, I was appointed chair. It happened very quickly. Yeah. And again, I didn't ask for it. It sought after me. Yeah. And I accepted the opportunity. And as long as the minister would have me, I will be there to serve. Even if I was removed as chair, I will continue to serve.
That's a calling. Like, that's something that, you know, you've been called in your life to give back in that way. And that's how you know, based on the fact that you would still want to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sort of everything that you've kind of been through and you've learned, and the places that you know, have been and come from, entrepreneurship, being incarcerated, being a mom, being a wife, all of those things. Like, what has been the greatest learning, I guess, point in your life? What have you gotten from all of that?
Well, I've received a great deal. I mean, I just believe I'm truly blessed. I sometimes feel like I have the entire package. A successful marriage, 20 years. I have two amazing young people. I think my kids are really, really nice people.
Yeah.
I like them. Some people don't like their children. They love them, but they don't like them.
Yes.
They're well-mannered. They're charismatic. They're kind. They're giving. The entrepreneurial piece has been a blessing. Again, I can beat my own drum. While I believe there are pros and cons to working for someone else, right? You can walk in the door and lose your job today, but your business could also fold as a result of, I don't know, something, the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? Some people
Absolutely.
didn't survive that.
Yeah.
So we just have to appreciate where we are and enjoy the moment and continue to be better. I always pride myself on just what's for me won't pass me. I truly believe that. I got that from my grandmother. She always said that. And it always pans out that way because sometimes some doors shut. But as a whole, I've just received that I am thankful. I'm thankful and elated that the experiences that have been afforded me have come my way.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, I mean, it's crazy how time flies. But everyone, this last question that I ask all of my guests before they leave the couch is, I love that, you've had this experiences that you've gone through in your life and it's not a traditional path. But out of everything that you've been through, like what is something that you want to be remembered for? I always say this, you're no longer on the planet a long time from now, touch wood, a long time from now, and people mention your name. Like, what do you want them to say about you?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, huh? I think first and foremost, I wish to be remembered as being candid but tactful. I believe in holding people accountable. I believe that you do them a disservice if you don't allow them to accept or earn their responsibilities. I wish to be remembered as a good listener. I believe it's best to listen more than to speak. People want to be heard. They don't always want or seeking your advice. They just want to be heard. I'll love to be remembered for being an amazing mom. Although that's a question for my children.
I think you got that one down. I know your son.
Yeah.
So yes.
I pride myself on being a great mother
Yeah.
and a great wife and a community person. I love to give finances, my time. I always make time for people. I take advantage of these opportunities where I'm quiet. I'm like, listen, let me call this person and just check in and say hello. Yep. Do you need anything? Are you okay? I am everyone's biggest cheerleader. I love to validate and encourage people. Yeah. So those are the finer things that I love to be remembered for.
Amazing. Okay. And you have two books, Shamefully Discreet and Overcoming Betrayal. If anyone wants to buy those and read them, where can they do that?
They can currently find them on Amazon. I no longer bring them in. I went through that period of where they were offered at Brown & Co., People's Pharmacy. My mom sold a whole bunch of them out of her business. But at this time, you can download it on your Kindle or you can purchase a hard copy and have it mailed to you.
Perfect. Amazing. Okay. And how can people get in contact with you if they wanted to partake in either of your businesses?
I can be contacted. My email is meeks, MEEKS at logic.bm. Or they can contact me through the Kids Spa on 292-4257. And yeah, that's probably the best ways of contacting me.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and trusting me to share that story on the platform. I really appreciate you being willing to do that.
Thank you for having me. You were amazing. I did trust that you were going to present in the way and form and fashion that you did. I was very comfortable and certainly elated to be here.
Thank you. All right. All right, guys. We just had an amazing, amazing episode with the amazing Kim Roberts, also known to me all my life as Aunt Kim, who came and she shared her story with us. She was very vulnerable about the things that she's been through in her life and how she had turned her life around and basically is on the other side of that. If you want to learn more about her or read more about her journey and everything she went through in her life, she has two books, The Shamefully Discreet as well as Overcoming Betrayal, that you can find on Amazon. And you can get the e-version or you can get the hard copy mailed to you. So make sure you head over there and support the two books that she she currently has. As always, make sure you head over to the website, hustleheartpodcast.com, where you can see the show notes about this episode. You can also check out the blog where you can give me some feedback on the episode. Tell me what you thought. I love to hear all of your feedback about the episode that you just watched and or listened to, depending on the platform that you're on. Also, sign up to be a VIP listener so you can get some of our amazing giveaways that we have coming out from our great sponsors from this season, Brown & Company, as well as 59 Front. As always, guys, thank you for spending some time with me today watching Hustle Her Podcast.